Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the Co-Star, the official newspaper of the Borough of Belmar, and the Asbury Park Press on December 2nd, 2020, and notice of this meeting was posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building.
Thank you, April. If everybody could join me in saluting the flag of our great nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just give me a moment of silence for our troops, their families, all our first responders, everybody still dealing with this pandemic, and who passed away since our last meeting. He was the Belmar police captain when he retired, and he did 30 years of service with the Belmar Police Department, and also was a lifeguard prior to that. We want to talk about for workshop tonight. One of the things I want to bring up is Belmar First Aid Building. As you know, we had a certified appraisal. The certified appraisal was the price that we offered, and we were outbid by Mr. Merkler. I had a conversation with Mr. Merkler over the weekend, and he understood the importance, since he lives in town, of having that building as a public safety building to house the first aid, Belmar Water Rescue, and all the training that happens out of that building. So he told me that he was going to withdraw his bid, and we really do appreciate Mr. Merkler for doing that, and thank him. So I'm not sure where we go from here, but we'll be discussing it with the borough attorney on what steps to take going forward. So if anybody has any questions before I move on, I just wanted to bring that out. All right, so just to inform everybody that, inform the council that that's where we're at and the progress for looking to purchase that. The other thing I wanted to bring up, we have a couple resolutions on here for some paid parking along Railroad Avenue. One of the resolutions is Mr. Kapalko from Loco owns and is on his property 38 spaces. So we were going to do a joint venture with him where he gets part of the proceeds, 50% of the proceeds. We still get to patrol it, and the summonses and everything still come back to Belmar. And then the rest of the spaces along Railroad Avenue is going to help out the marina immensely. We're going to be able to remove those all the cars and trucks and everything that park along there, because with the amount of business that we're doing in the marina now, and with the whale watching and the power sail and all that, we need all those parking spaces. So we're going to put Park Mobile on those. And then the other thing is, along the other side of Railroad Avenue between 7th and 8th, we're going to put in 5 parking spaces just for boat owners, permit parking, because now with all the slips being taken in the marina, we have the L and K dock, which is down that end with private boats, and we want to give them some permit parking down there to help them. I think that covers it. If anybody has any questions on that.
Mr. Mayor, I had one question.
Yes.
Along Railroad Avenue, Mr. Kapalko, he's not going to get $1 from all those spaces, just the ones that he's the owner of.
Correct.
So
yes, just the one, yeah.
Okay.
I think he has 38 or 36 spaces there that is on his property. So to clean up that whole area, we've made a deal with him. He'll get half the proceeds just for the hourly rate. And then the borough when they're giving out summonses, that all goes to the borough.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mayor, I have just a couple questions to clarify about that space too. There are a lot of vehicles and trucks and trailers or several that seem to be parked along that area permanently. And they take up places for, those coming in and wanting to patronize our local businesses, like not only Klein's and Doughboys, but also across the street, from Doughboys now, we have a dry cleaner in there, a fitness center, a barber shop. And we already have, of course, Acropolis and, the other buildings across from Acropolis there on Main Street. So, I would seem to think that this is good because it will clean up some parking spaces for, those businesses to be able to have patrons to be able to come. And I just, I know the parking authority does their due diligence when it comes to these things, but I just wanted to make sure, that those businesses in that area also feel that this is a good idea and will allow, people to come and go and have additional parking for their stores and their businesses.
You're correct. That was a lot of the thought process that went into this. We had lots of discussions of the past meetings with the Harbor Commission because of the different type of what the fishing boats are doing in the afternoons with the whale watching and the parties that they take out and the night cruises and Marina Grill. That was one of the things. I mean, there's like a trailer that's parked there. There's all kind of things that are parked in those spaces. So we've been, I know we've been working with the chief to start removing them, find out who owns all this stuff and move it all out of there. So it should be really good for the marina, the businesses, and to keep all those spaces clear. I mean, those spaces, even on a hot summer day, get all taken up for the beach. So now that we could move all that stuff and hopefully keep it cleaned up.
Yeah, and I also think it's great too. People have not had access to park in the municipal lot in the past because there are all those signs there that it's permit parking, municipal parking only. So now we're taking an entire row where, people normally would not have been able to park legally and making that parking available for them as well. So, I think that's good. I mean, if we have the spots in the lot and they're not being used, let's give them to the public so they can have access to them and, to benefit our downtown. One question I did have is, I know several of the vehicles in the municipal lot, sort of in that last row, are impounded vehicles. How long do we have to keep those? I'm just curious because I see them there and I ask and I'm told, well, it was a drug arrest or was this or that, and I just kind of seem to sit there.
If you want to answer that. Yes.
We're working on getting those vehicles out of the parking lot. Several of them have been here for several years. There is a process to get rid of them, but we are taking care of that now.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Anyone else? All right. The only other thing that I have, I think, for workshop is the June 15th meeting. Now that the governor has lifted a lot of the restrictions, we're going to go back to live council meetings, and the borough hall has been open now for about a week or so. And I think we can go back to live council meetings. I know a lot of people got used to the Zoom, and if we could do both, we will try to do that, but it's a little bit complicated. But as starting next day, the next meeting, we'll be going to live meetings. So I think that's all I have for workshop. What's on the resolution calendar? Everybody good with anything else on their resolution calendar that they wanted to bring up? All right, April, we'll move on. We'll move on to petitions. Anybody have anybody?
I did receive a petition from Janet Wyatt of Neptune. It's a petition against Park Mobile throughout the town. And it's been circulated to the mayor and council.
Thank you. Approval of minutes.
Just one question. April, did you get a count of Belmar residents that's on there?
I did not go through and count them, but just taking a quick glance, it's it looks like
I think
it's
there's 32,
mostly
April.
32.
I think there's only 32. I don't know if it's confirmed, but just a quick look, it looked like only 32.
Okay, thank you.
There was a lot of out of town and some out of state signatures as well. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 18th meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, reports of council. Councilman Carvelli?
Thank you, Mayor. Let's see. Well, I know we had a sort of a washout of a weekend. It was wet and windy out there, but I did attend the Roland building dedication, and that was very well attended. I did see the mural that was painted. That was very impressive. Looking forward to seeing that. Are we putting that in the building?
Yes, well, we're
Okay.
putting it in Borough Hall for right now, so everybody can take a look at it.
Yeah, okay, cool. And then Memorial Day service, which was yesterday, again, very well attended. We had a aerial flyby, so that was impressive. And other than that, none of my boards or committees have met, so I don't have anything else to report at this time. So thank you.
Councilmember Kraken?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I was also honored to be able to attend the two Memorial Day remembrances that were held yesterday at Memorial Park. One conducted by the fire department and the other one by the Van Esquan VFW with the flyover. We were well attended. It was nice to see a lot of Belmartians there and remember those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. It's interesting when you attend municipal events like that and have an opportunity to speak to a lot of people, some of the feedback that you get. And I just wanted to clarify, because there seems to be a misunderstanding amongst members of the public regarding the library and when that is going to open up for people to come in and be able to utilize the library. And of course, the governor just lifted the social distancing and the mask restrictions on Friday, and governments and all sorts of boards are trying to digest those executive orders and change their processes to be able to open up. But I know when I was there for the Shade Tree Commission meeting, tree planting, where the kids were taught about Arbor Day and how to plant trees, that the president of the library board and one of the employees that I was speaking to had some concerns with some of the library systems, primarily windows that were unable to open and close because they haven't been replaced or maintained, the heating and air conditioning system, and some other miscellaneous items that they were talking about. Obviously their number one concern is that when that building does open up again, it's safe for the public to come in. So I just didn't know. I know, Ed, you've been working, Borough Administrator Christian Baum, sorry, you've been working closely with them, and they have a plan, and they're working through, the board is working through the challenges that they have, and they're anxious to get open themselves, right? And once they feel it's safe to do so, they will be opening that building to the public.
Yes, that's correct. We just opened the municipal complex this past week. And talking to Rosemary Corbelak, the director over there, they have some concerns. They're going through phases, as so many libraries in the state are doing. But we have a dialogue going, and they feel it's going to be open within the next few weeks. We have a couple things we have to do with computers over there. But there is a plan. We are leaving it up to the professionals over there to make the decision to open when they want to open. And any assistance that we can give them, we're going to give them. I know, like I said, we have plans for the computers to be updated, I believe on Thursday, but in short order, they're going to be opening up soon.
All right, great. So thanks. You know, those who are on this call can, you know, hopefully get the correct information going on there. Also, I see Patrick is on this meeting here tonight, which I think is great. Because at the last meeting, I know one of our residents, Cy Rittmeyer, had some questions about trees that are in the right of way between the sidewalk and the curb. I did my best from the limited knowledge that I have to try to explain who's responsible for maintaining those. But Patrick, I know you asked Cy to give you a call. I had spoken to you the next day. You gave me a very thorough explanation from a legal standpoint of exactly whose responsibility these trees are. And I just wanted to follow up. I haven't had a chance to talk to Cy to see if he reached out to you and you had a chance to speak to him and explain to him what you explained to me.
So I have not spoken. I did invite him to call me, but he has not reached out. If he's in the audience, he's always welcome to call me. I'll be in my office all week, and I'd be happy to speak with him at any time about that matter.
Okay, all right, good. I just wasn't sure. I just didn't want to leave that as a loose end because I had that here in my notes that was an open item. So yeah, okay, good. I see the chief is on the meeting. Chief, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know your team has been doing fantastic work dealing with these pop-up car shows. Any updates that you can provide us on that, either during your report or at some point, I think would be good. I know we've implemented the paid parking with the goal of trying to reduce and discourage those pop-up events, which are very discouraging to discourage them from coming here, which are obviously very unsettling to our residents. But you know, when I see those happening, I try to stop down. I see your officers there; they're very well prepared, keeping people under, keeping the situation calm, and writing tickets for people with violations. And you know, I think by sending a consistent message to folks who come to those things that, you know, this disruption is not tolerated in town, and we're taking it very seriously, and you're going to get tickets if you're breaking any of our ordinances, is important. So again, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I didn't know if there was anything you wanted to add about those pop-up shows or.
You know, just that we're going to keep doing what we're doing. Every time we do find out about one, I contact, or someone in the department contacts the state police. We contact Wall Township, we contact the sheriff's department, and I'm in contact with all the chiefs of the surrounding towns in reference to these pop-up car meets. And if they have people on, they'll send them our way for the presence of law enforcement in the area. Our officers are out there issuing summonses. We're issuing for the equipment violations, and you know, that's what I think a lot of people don't understand is that's what it is. It's an equipment violation on a vehicle. That doesn't mean that we can tow the car. We can't impound a car for a vehicle violation. There's got to be other, you know, circumstances with that. But I think with the paid parking, it did definitely increase the number of summonses we were issuing. We had the Park Mobile out there the last two events, and we wrote over 40 tickets just for parking. So, you know, unfortunately, as much as, you know, everybody would like us to close down the roads, you just can't do that. We can't tell people because they have a loud muffler, they can't drive down the street. So we'll just keep enforcing as much as we can. And, you know, hopefully, you know, after, you know, they get a few summonses every time they come here, that they'll stop coming and find another place to go.
Thanks for the update.
I was a little skeptical, Councilmember Kraken, because the last couple meetings that we have talked about it, they were here the very next night. So I was wondering if somebody's
Well,
on here watching our meetings. So we'll see tomorrow if they come.
All right.
I
well,
do know
won't
that
bring
the
it up
last
again.
time that they were here, they didn't even put that they were coming to Belmar. It was just a picture of a beach. So, I mean, they're getting clever. They're not just saying go to Belmar at 8th and Ocean. We did speak to 7-Eleven. There was a little bit of a fire hazard in their parking lot for them to go out and clear it out. And I've been in contact with our fire marshal, so we're trying to rectify that situation because they were all the vehicles were parked in there, and if there was an emergency, first responders wouldn't have been able to get behind that building. They did not want to help. So, you know, I'm working with Ryan DeLay, and we're going to try to come up with a different plan as far as them packing the vehicles into the parking lot.
Thank you. Just two final items, Mayor. Shade Tree Commission meeting is on June 16th, 6 o'clock. And the Belmar Housing Authority meets on Monday at 5:15. Other than that, since the last meeting, my groups haven't met, so they have 2 upcoming meetings this month.
Yeah,
And that's
thank
my
you.
report.
Thank you. Councilman Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have much to add. I did not have any committee meetings or anything, but I did get to attend the Memorial Day service yesterday. As always, my wife and I attend every year. It's always moving, and it was really well attended, and I couldn't help but compare it to last year's with COVID going on. And I think it's really important that we have the Memorial Day ceremony every year, no matter what the circumstances. And it was really good to see everybody out. And it was good to honor those who gave the full measure. And the only thing I want to say about the Howard Rowland event, which I mean, I felt really, I didn't know Howard, and I really feel bad now that I didn't know him, because everybody had great stories about him. What a really amazing guy he was, and how much he did for Belmar and for, you know, water rescues all up and down the coast. But I do want to speak I can't speak highly enough of the artist and the portrait that she painted, Suzanne Annan, a Belmar resident. I really strongly urge everybody, and if you knew Howard, you definitely have to see this. And anybody should come down. It's going to be hanging in Borough Hall, and you can come and look at it. I encourage you for that. And other than that, I want to commend the Belmar PD for their great work over the weekend, and especially for the thing with the cars. A picture of a beach, really? Okay, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President Juan.
Thank you, Mayor. I too did not have any committee meetings this time. I have 2 coming up in the next 2 weeks. I just have from the ADA, last ADA meeting, I have to comment on the women who worked so hard to put together this resource guide. It's going to be online. We're going to put this file online and also at the library. And it gives a list of categories in this book would be resources for challenged people, autism, children, epilepsy, developmental, physical disabilities, aging, blind and visually impaired, and recreation. So this resource guide, there's something in here for everybody. And if you need help, it's all here for you. And I have to thank Carol Ann Capoli and Claire Dykey, Joanne and Louis Anderson for working so hard on putting this together. And it's a wonderful resource for all of our residents and anybody else who needs it. It will be online soon in a file. And again, I also attended the Memorial Day service Monday. It was very touching. And what was nice, it was so nice too, is to see people again and be able to talk to people and recognize them because we weren't wearing a mask. It was wonderful. But again, thank you to the firemen, VFW, again, a very touching service. It was wonderful to see the planes fly over and just actually on cue. It was a great day. It was a tough weekend for everybody with the rain. I kind of feel sorry for our businesses. What a way to start a weekend, but I'm sure they're going to make up for it in the coming weeks. And again, Tina, thank you, Chief, and the police. I guess you had your hands full this weekend. But I know you always did a great job. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mayor. That's it.
Thank you. One of the things I just want to mention, and I'm sure the councilman just overlooked it. We had a presentation from the Academy Charter School on Thursday for the Negro baseball leagues that played there at Memorial Field. They incorporated our field into their Black History Month in February, and they wanted to come down and work with our historical society and place a wreath on home plate. So we had that ceremony of placing the wreath, and I'll tell you, it was really, it's some story to listen to. And I've been in Belmar a long time, and I never heard it until our president of the Belmar Historical Society, Spence Hewlett, laid it out. And it's all the guys that played here that got inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, all those athletes. It's really an amazing story, and hopefully we're going to be able to incorporate that into our 150-year anniversary next year. But it was great, and the kids were all there from the Academy Charter School, and it was such a nice event. I also, while I was presented at the Howard Rowland Memorial and naming the 10th Avenue Public Safety Building, it was such a fitting for him to be named that, especially for public safety. And when you hear all the accomplishments he did in Belmar. The Memorial Day service, I'm going to echo the rest of my council, all the council, because it was really a nice ceremony. The firemen did theirs, and then the VFW, is it 1839? That I think that's their number. But they come up, and I do miss Danny Moynihan and all the guys that used to do it, and I think about them when I go to this memorial, because they were such a big part of it. But those guys down at that VFW that took over really did a nice job, and it was moving. Just a couple other things. The ships at our playground on the beachfront, 16th Avenue and 8th Avenue, have been installed. The kids seem to love them. I got some good feedback, and those were the ones that the finance team really worked hard, and they were able to save us $158,000 on those. So I was glad when they came in, and they're in place before summer. We have our 2 new bathrooms got delivered just in time for Memorial Day weekend. They're still hooking them up. And the tennis pickleball courts, if anybody's driven by there, they look fabulous. They're almost ready to go. They still have to put some nets up and some striping, but we should have them within a week or two. And I think that's all I have. So, yeah, I can't think of anything else, but all right, so we'll move on to public session on the consent agenda.
Hey, if anyone from the public would like to speak regarding a resolution on the agenda, please click the raise hand button, state your name and address.
Thank you, April. Mr. Kramer, coming to you.
Eugene Kramer, 4th Avenue.
Hi, Mr. Kramer.
Good evening, everybody. I just have I guess a correction to resolution number 2021-133. This is adopting a volunteer handbook. And third paragraph, excuse me, the third paragraph down. Please delete the word recreation. I think this handbook is supposed to be handed out to all volunteers.
I don't have it right in front of me, but we do have volunteers for recreation, don't we?
Oh, I understand.
Our
I understand.
boards,
Yes, Mr. Kramer, go ahead.
Yeah, I understand that. But this resolution adopting the handbook also mentions at the top, not just recreation, but boards and commissions. So it doesn't apply to just to be distributed just to the people that are working in recreation. It's just a simple fix. I think all you have to do is delete the word.
I see what he's talking about. I'm making the change right now.
Okay, thank you, April.
Thanks, Mr. Kramer.
Okay.
Thank you. Seeing no hands, or last call, seeing no hands.
Okay, April.
Okay, can I have a motion to close the public session?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve consent agenda number 1?
Make the motion.
Second.
Councilman Juan? Oh, you're on mute. She's saying yes, but having trouble.
Hold on, sorry, I see her. Yep,
Okay, got it.
got it.
Okay.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Can I have a motion to approve the resolutions listed on consent agenda number 2?
Make the motion.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Juan?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Abstain.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Next, we have second reading and public hearing on bond ordinance 2021-11. This is appropriating 1.5 billion for the issuance of bonds and notes. This is open for public comment. If anyone from the public would like to speak on ordinance 2021-11, please click the raise hand button. Okay,
See your hand, one moment.
please remember to state your name and address.
Okay, just waiting on Zoom. Okay,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Yes, name and address, please.
Hello, can you?
Yes,
Can you
name and
hear me?
address, please.
Sure, it's Paul Aaliyah, 106 19th Avenue.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm curious because I checked the agenda and I'm not sure what the bond resolution represents. Are these non-specific funds, or are these funds going to be specified for a specific project?
Yeah, it's for a specific project. It's for the purchase of the Belmar First Aid Building.
I thought that has already been sold to another developer.
That developer has withdrawn his bid.
I see. And that was noted in the paper, or, I mean, I thought this was a done deal, which is why it's surprising that I find it on this agenda.
We're putting the money in place just in case, and we're working towards the purchase. If it doesn't happen, we won't be bonding, but we need the funds in place to negotiate.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
No more hands?
Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to adopt ordinance 2021-11.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Councilman Juan?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Okay, next is ordinance 2021-13. This is second reading and public hearing. This is a bond ordinance amending a previous bond ordinance number 2020-42. This is open for public comment. Anyone has anything? No?
No hands?
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And a motion to adopt ordinance 2021-13.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Juan,
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli,
Yes.
Councilman McCracken,
Yes.
Councilman Brennan,
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer.
Yes.
Next is second reading and public hearing on ordinance 2021-14, an ordinance of the Borough of Belmar to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. This is open for public comment. Please remember to state your name and address.
Okay, I have a hand, stand by. Go ahead, sir.
Hello. Hello,
Yes.
this is Jerry Buckafusco, 409 Fifth Avenue.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was just wondering, since this is kind of a technical ordinance, and I'm sure there are people in the audience who may not understand it completely. Can someone basically in plain language describe what this ordinance is doing?
The only thing that I know from our finance team is that it's something that has to be done every year in conjunction with the budget. So, and I don't have anybody from my finance team here to explain it in great detail.
Does anyone else have any
I mean,
idea?
my understanding is that you can take what, so you can't exceed the budget by more than 2%, right? And this allows you to go over that and then put that in the cap bank, and you can bin that up for a certain number of years. That is my cursory understanding, but it doesn't mean that we're going to increase the budget by by that amount. Like, it's not, we're not committing to do that. We're just protecting ourselves, and so that if we have to at some point increase the budget that more than we're supposed to, we have that ability.
Well, then I just want to point out that one of the whereas paragraphs says the council are determining that a 2.5% increase in the budget for said year, which would be this year, 2021, amounting to 352,000 and change, in excess of the increase in the final appropriation otherwise permitted by local government cap law, is advisable and necessary. So, I mean, what this is doing is it's allowing you to increase the budget by 2.5%. And it's not a matter of it being there as a, well, we will use it if we need to. I mean, I believe it's already in the budget, which would lead to my next question is, why do we have to exceed the budget cap?
Yeah, Jerry, our borough attorney may be able to explain some of these things to you better, but the best thing for you to do if you don't understand it is probably to speak to our municipal auditor, Bob Allison, who would really understand this. There are several different administrations who have put caps on municipalities and caps with exceptions, and then it's expired under Phil Murphy. But these ordinances that we adopt annually for a municipal budget are standard practice under state laws that's been established by legislation and by the DCA for municipalities to follow.
But just to explain that a little further to people, so it's not mandated that you pass an ordinance to exceed the budget cap. There is a provision that allows you to do that when you want to exceed it. But I'm troubled by the fact that the council is voting on something that many of you don't really understand. And the fact that I would have to call the auditor, I think begs the position. The auditor should be explaining it to the public as to
Well,
what this means.
Jerry, let me just chime in a little bit.
Well, let me
when
just
we-
finish
when
and I'll
we
be
put-
done.
Go ahead.
I just want to say, and this leads to my last comment, in that I had hoped this year there would have been a budget presentation explaining in detail some of the different aspects of the budget. Obviously, there's still an opportunity to do that at the 11th hour next week, but I have to say that I'm disappointed that.
Well, we put a
as
budget
last year,
summary
it
online
wasn't
and we
done.
talked about it last meeting. We had a budget summary last week meeting when we introduced it. And it was
I
put
don't
up
think-
online.
I don't think that was much of a summary, to be perfectly honest with you, with all due respect, but I will have more comments next week, but I just think it would be helpful for the public to understand and for the council to understand what the ordinances are and what they're voting for.
Hey,
Thank you.
Jerry,
Well,
first
I'm
of all,
sure you know
thank-
that, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah. Jerry, first of all, I know you like to put the council on trial when you speak. And we
It's
spend
not
a
a fair
lot of time,
statement.
we spend a lot of time reviewing these ordinances, understanding them. The reason I suggested that you speak to Bob Allison is not because I don't understand this, but it is a very complicated issue, and I don't want to get a discussion with you and have a debate go back and forth when the best format for you to understand this better is to speak with the subject matter expert. So I would suggest you reach out to Bob. He's always available to folks who call in, just like our borough attorney is, and he can walk you through this so you can understand it thoroughly, because there may be some very technical questions that members of this council couldn't answer. And Bob isn't on the call this evening.
Yeah, I mean, just because we can't articulate something doesn't mean we don't get it.
To
And I
Mr.
would-
McCracken's comment, I just want to say he's absolutely right, but the understanding should go beyond my understanding. It should be every resident has the right to understand what's going on. And I think it behooves the council when things like this come up to have Mr. Allison here to explain this type of an ordinance to everyone, not just to me, but to all the residents who are listening right now. So that's my only point. Yes, it is a little complicated and a lot of people probably don't understand it, but the best practice is to have someone like Mr. Allison come before the council and explain it so that everyone understands it. Thank you.
So he'll be here next meeting.
And
Sounds
Mayor, I think it's important to point out that at the last meeting, Mr. Allison was on the call and this ordinance was brought up for first reading and no one had any questions. So
As well as our finance team, which will be at the next meeting. That's our plan.
I might have got rid of Gerald a little prematurely. Let me get him back on. Go ahead.
Hello?
Have that.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, just to follow up that point is the general practice is we don't make comments on ordinances on the first reading. Isn't that correct?
That's correct, but
Okay,
if I
that's-
remember correctly, the mayor opened it up during public session.
that's absolutely
Well-
correct, Councilman Carvelli. At the last meeting, that is the normal practice. The mayor brought it up and no one had any questions. So
Well,
maybe you
The
weren't on the
practice had
last
been-
meeting, Jerry. Were
the
you?
practice was-
you attend the last
the
meeting?
practice was always been the second reading. But
Jerry, did you
again,
attend the last meeting?
Mr.
I
Booker,
think I did, all right?
Okay.
I'm not trying to be argumentative. It's
Excuse
just
me.
that people keep spewing things that they make up
Yeah,
as
yes,
they're
Patrick?
talking.
Can I speak, please, Mr. Booker? So what he just told you, that the mayor invited everybody to make a comment. Just because it's normal practice that there's no comments on first reading doesn't mean that after the mayor invites you that everybody's just going to ignore it. If there was a question, if you could have raised all these points at first meeting when everybody was available, but if you were present, you consciously chose not to, which quite frankly I feel was a little inappropriate. But conversely, at the same time, you are raising these points now. They are fair points, and the borough council, the mayor, and the borough administrator all informed you that the correct and appropriate staff will be available at the following meeting. And in the event you have any questions in the meantime, you're welcome to reach out to them.
So now if I have questions about next budget meeting, I should make them tonight about the adoption of the budget at the next meeting? Or am I going to get the same excuse? Am I going to get the same excuse at the next meeting that I should have asked them at this meeting?
No, they'll all be here next meeting.
Okay, and they'll be prepared to answer questions that I have.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I want to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
In a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to adopt ordinance 2021-14.
Second.
Councilman Juan,
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli,
Yes.
Councilman McCracken,
Yes.
Councilman Brennan,
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer.
Yes.
Okay, next is second reading and public hearing of ordinance 2021-15. This is an ordinance establishing procedures and standards regarding the deployment of small wireless facilities in public right-of-ways. This is open for public comment. Please remember to state your name and address.
Kramer, I see you. One moment. All right, Zoom. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Kramer.
Yeah, Eugene Creamer, 4th Avenue. And,
Go ahead.
okay, I read all 29 pages of this facilities in the right of way for small cell equipment. On the first page, and this is just in the preface, I don't think this gets codified. But the sixth down, whereas, it says, whereas Belmar Borough wishes to preserve the aesthetics of the community by encouraging the location of SG equipment on existing or previously approved infrastructure. Now, it does mention before that 4G, 5G. Is this a joke that this is Super G?
No,
Well,
Mr. Kramer.
we're putting into place to make sure that with the lawsuit from Verizon that we secure and have the control of the aesthetics and the placement. So they're informing us that they were looking for 5G.
Can't hear you, Mayor.
Jiggle your mic, Mayor, please.
Can you hear me now?
Not really.
No.
Not really?
Do an unplug.
How about this?
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, this ordinance is to make sure that we have control over the aesthetics, the placement, and with the Verizon lawsuit, I mean, this is for 5G equipment, but we wanted to make sure that we got this all in place so that we have some type of control instead of the courts having that control.
Understood, Mayor. I think this is actually, is this going to replace chapter 43? I think we've already had about 2 or 3 versions of the same ordinance. But
yeah, I'm not sure. If it's April, is that replacing that chapter or we're adding to it?
Mr. Mayor, my review of the ordinance is drafted in chapter 43 that I just perused real quickly. It appears that this is going to be amending and supplementing chapter 43. So any term that currently exists in chapter 43 that is consistent with the amended ordinance as we have prepared is going to stay, but if there's an inconsistent or conflicting term, it's going to be removed and supplemented with the terminology utilized in the ordinance before the Borough Council today.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to comment that in any case, this is a much better job than what was there before. Somebody did good work, and I think they did put it in common sense words. My only other comment is actually on page 10 of the document, which I guess is the form of the approval that the borough would be issuing. And this pertains to insurance and indemnity. There's nothing here about insuring adjacent property owners. And currently in town, most residential properties, the adjoining property owner is responsible for shade trees. Likewise, the adjoining property owner is responsible for sidewalks. And whenever there is a slip and fall claim on a sidewalk in front of a residential property, residential property owners don't get any support from the Borough of Belmar. In fact, what they're told is to forward the claim to their insurance coverage that they have for their property. There's no, I see that the borough is protecting itself with looks like about a $2 million insurance policy. What's going to be done for, like I said, for adjoining property owners? Also, the other thing is that the ordinance would allow poles up to 35 feet high. And gee, I got one of the larger properties in town, and I have a front yard setback of 20 feet. You know, there's a good possibility of besides somebody perhaps getting hurt, but also property damage that could result from the installation of this equipment. I would much rather, I would be fully supportive of the proposed ordinance if there was some provision of indemnification of the adjoining property owners.
The only thing I could say, and I know Patrick could probably speak to this a little bit better, but I think it from the position and the different applications, I think that would probably go more into the contract that the borough's signing with any of the companies than in the ordinance, because different applications and different things apply in different places of town. So Patrick, can you weigh in on that a little bit?
So yes, you're correct. So this is, Mr. Kramer, this is step one in the process. And the purpose of this ordinance was, as Mr. Mayor commented earlier, was to provide the borough with some control over the aesthetics and the placement of the pole. As far as indemnification of neighboring property owners and whether or not who's going to be liable, if the borough is going to protect them in the event that a claim occurs, that's not really right for this discussion at this time, just because we don't know who's going to be placing the poles where. And the borough also doesn't have a lot of control as to saying, no, you can't place this pole in the public right away by virtue of the Federal Telecommunications Act, prohibiting any conduct that can be perceived as banning or interfering with the public use of cellular communication. So as far as answering your question of why does this ordinance not address any potential indemnification of neighboring property owners, is because that's not what it's designed for. Yes, it has the insurance provision for the borough, because that's necessitated, and it's just smart planning on the borough's part. Just in case anything does happen, at least the borough is protected, so that any offsetting costs doesn't bounce back on the resident property owners. Rather, it gets handled by the insurance company, which it's paying for, which it's paying for. So does that kind of answer your question, Mr. Kramer?
Well, if you would apply that same logic to the sidewalks that we have in front of our properties and also to the street trees. Like I said, when there's a slip and fall claim, the borough tells the property owner, we don't handle that. That's the responsibility of the adjoining property owner.
That's correct. It's ordinance 16-20.
Okay, but now we have equipment that's being put out in the same area. In fact, in all probability, a lot of it would be put between the sidewalk and the curb.
Oh, I see where you're going. So in the event one of the poles disrupted the curb, and by the virtue of being installed, the contractor, say, we're just going to use Verizon because that was mentioned once. Say Verizon installs a pole and they damage the curb, thereby making like a deviation of greater than excess of 3 feet, or there's like there's a hole there that somebody could easily trip and fall in. By virtue of Verizon constructing the pole and damaging the property, they would have to fix it. So that would be a part of any contractual clause with whatever service provider the borough ultimately contracts with.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be better if the adjoining property owner was supplied with an insurance policy? I mean, we're talking about something here, and words go through the air. Words written are always there. Why not put it as a condition of the placement of any of these facilities that the adjoining property be protected?
Well, one, off the top of my head, I'm not entirely certain if it's legal. And two, you'd be using taxpayer funds to insure private property rather than public property, which I also don't believe is legal, but I'd have to double check on that, so that I can't fully answer right now.
Patrick, wouldn't that be under the agreements that we make with any of these communication companies?
We can certainly.
That would be part of a contract or any kind of agreement that we have with these companies, that if anything ever happened to anybody's personal property or anything like that, they would have to make sure that they've taken care of all of it.
Oh, certainly, absolutely.
So I think that's, I mean, Mr. Kramer's heading towards us putting into an ordinance, but like I said before, I think like each application could be different and handled a different way. So I think that in any of our agreements that we've come up with, we would make sure that everybody's property is protected.
Right. We can certainly negotiate that into any contract.
Excuse me, with the, I didn't see any indication in this ordinance about notifications. If a wireless equipment is going to be mounted in front of a residential property, would the property owner be notified?
Yes, the contracting party would have to comply with all notice requirements under the municipal land use law.
Oh, okay. In other words, anybody within 200 feet of the proposed installation would be provided notice?
Yes. You couldn't just go and build something in front of your house.
Okay. Well, I think, like I said, I think this is second or third revision to this wireless ordinance, and it's probably not going to be the last. I see that reference is made to 2018 and 2019 FCC regulations. And of course, that was under Trump, and currently the FCC, the acting chairwoman, the FCC is actually evenly split now. There's 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats, and of course, waiting for President Biden to make the appointment of a new chairman. But all indications are that much of this is going to be rolled back and especially the business of the shot clock and the requirement to comply with the federal environmental regulations and acts. So I guess it's good enough for now, and look forward to the next version. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Kramer.
Thank you. Okay, Rob, coming to you. Oh, hand went back away. Seeing no hands now.
Can I have a motion?
Oh, Rob came back. Should we bring him back? No. One more second. Zoom issues, stand by. Okay, Mr. Rob.
Hi, this is Rob Aaliyah, 106 19th Avenue.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to piggyback on Eugene's comments. I think they were spot on, quite honestly. I was just curious to know if anyone is aware of the Court of Appeals case August 9th that occurred in District of Columbia, and the fact that the FCC's requirements are getting postponed and halted because of the environmental impairment. I'm just curious, did anybody do any due diligence around some of the current cases that are prevalent in Tennessee, Connecticut, District of Columbia, and Oregon relative to the environmental impairment for these nodes that are going up? I mean, we could pump the brakes here a little bit before we just jump in.
So, Rob, if I may, so the country's split into circuits, and unfortunately, what's happening in DC and what's happening in Oregon or Oklahoma or California or Texas or what have you isn't controlling on the Third Circuit, which is what New Jersey falls into, along with Delaware and Pennsylvania. And the law in Delaware and Pennsylvania is exceptionally clear, and they are still enforcing all regulations and the Federal Telecommunications Act as written. I wish that wasn't how our law worked, but as it is, outside circuit cases are considered persuasive authority and have no binding effect.
What about the, and I don't have it in front of me, but there's a pending case in New Jersey. I believe it's Trenton, and there's also something out of New York State, New York City specifically, not New York State, New York City.
So I would have to have the actual case name to see whether or not I've read it or not. I have read a significant amount of them, but as far as you might have just hit the nail on the head when you said the case is pending. So because it's pending, it still has no controlling effect.
So we just have to take it on the chin, in other words.
We're taking it step by step. We believe, as far as like a legal standpoint, what the borough is doing is the most effective route of at least retaining some level of control, given the activeness of the Verizon wireless lawsuit. It's better to have this than to have nothing and say, okay, Verizon, you can go do whatever you want as soon as the court orders. So at least we have something to stand on at this point.
So Patrick, one other question, because of it's a bit separate, but it's also at the same time consistent with these nodes that are being put up. Has anyone looked at the relevance as to why we need them? Has any kind of impact study been done in terms of, better communication, less of a log jam, supposedly in some specific months during the year that might have questionable connectivity for cell phones? I mean, has any of that been looked at, and why we can't use 4G antenna and technology in lieu of putting these nodes at every other block?
Unfortunately, the way the Federal Telecommunications Act is written, Verizon has taken the position, and along as the other major carriers, that these nodes are required, and without them, they wouldn't be able to compete in the market, as well as provide the 5G services, which are quite frankly permitted by the Act. So engaging in any study to delay or stall, or just simply say, well, no, you can't come in because there's no study that actually determines whether or not the relevancy or the usefulness of this technology, has no bearing or effect on the fact that the law says they can do it.
I know one thing on the Mama Luke's project where Verizon is trying to put it up there. we're now bringing in an engineer specializing in that, just to take a look.
So I think, I think the engineer that's being brought in is going to look at the viability as to why the 5G is needed and why we couldn't just stick another antenna on, what is it, Main and 18th and the hotel on 10th, and just increase their ability to broadcast and communicate with cell phones. And I think that's the rationale for the study. I'm just curious as to why we haven't done the same thing for the nodes that are proposed on the boardwalk.
So because the answer to that question is the Mamalukes is a private establishment and this is public property and public rights of way. So there's interpreting in varying degrees of how to handle it. On a private establishment, there is more control, there's more ability to review items because they're going to have to apply for, most likely, I'm assuming, use variance relief. I'm not fully briefed on the Mamalukes, but just by the way, I just heard that conversation right there. I'm assuming it's a private establishment, and I'm assuming at some point they're going to require use variance relief to construct the antenna. And that's one of the reasonings why there's going to be additional studies, because there's a whole level other standard under the municipal land use law, as opposed to the installation of these poles in the public's right of way by virtue of the Federal Telecommunications Act.
Understood. Thanks, Patrick.
No problem. Any other questions, feel free to call.
Okay, stand by. And now we have Mark Fitzgerald who's waiting. One moment. Seems being tricky. There you go.
Hi, Mark Fitzgerald, Surf Avenue.
Hi, Mark.
Hear me okay? Apparently so. Thank you all for the work you do for the town. I always start off that way because I know the hours that you all put in, and I want to make sure it gets recognized. So thank you all for the work.
Thank you.
As you guys know, I am on the zoning board, so I need to be careful that I don't discuss any pending applications that we have outside of that, and that is not my intent of speaking at this point. I'm speaking specific to the ordinance that's in front of us as a citizen of the town, okay? I would like to think, or like to suggest, that there be some wording to avoid any appearance that the town is standing in the way or delaying any carrier's ability to execute, that some wording that the town will expedite the carrier's request when and however possible might be recommended to at least, send the message that, this ordinance is not meant to cause any additional undue delay or slow down their ability. In fact, I think it'll have the opposite effect in that, Mr. Mayor, if it does happen, I think this will happen much more quickly, given the council's intervening and making these recommendations to get these poles built and aesthetically done, as opposed to having to go through individual carriers on a case-by-case basis, which would take much longer. So I'm asking that if not in this revision, if in a future revision, some reference to the need or the town's need to get this done, assist in getting the carrier's request accommodated quickly be included.
All right. Patrick, you have a comment on that?
Very brief, Mr. Fitzgerald. Section 4 and Section 5 do list the process. It does refer to the shot clock, that approvals would have to be granted in 90 days. It's kind of inherent with these forms of application that the borough is aware that it will not interfere, intentionally interfere with the placement or have the effect of prohibiting the placement of small wireless facilities. It's just one of the prohibitions of the statute. It's kind of like comparable to saying that you're not going to go 90 down Ocean Avenue, because it's just, there's a speed limit sign there for a reason. You have to obey and listen to the law. So having that clause would operate as a redundancy, especially considering that Section 4 and Section 5 do address the application process for expedited review.
Okay, I understood. And then just the last point, and it was mentioned, and I think it's okay to just mention also that a RFI expert is going to be speaking to this. I'm just curious if relative to this particular situation, if they could look at the need for the, I'm really surprised by the quantity of polls that is being stated for this alternate request that they have unrelated to the zoning board request. It just seems to be like a ridiculous number of polls that they have to be spaced so closely. And then, secondarily, when and if, or when that does go through, doesn't that relieve the capacity issue for the alternate application? But anyway, that's just something I think that the council might want to consider having the RFI expert take a look at as well, which is outside of what the zoning board requested.
Yeah, as soon as he's hired, we're probably going to ask him to look into that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you all.
Thank you. Sherry, coming to you. Oh, sorry. Paris, we're gonna go to you first. Sorry, the Zoom is being tricky. Good, sir. Sorry, see you there, or is that an old hand? There you go.
Okay, I'm here. How you doing, guys?
Good, hi, Si, how are you?
Good, how are you? 405th Ave, Belmar. Thank you, Mr. McCracken, for bringing up the tree thing, and I'll get back to that in a public discussion. But my question is for actually the council for the town of Varga, which is, I'm kind of, a little confused about the genesis of this cell tower situation. How did it come about? Why did we ultimately wind up in a suit? Why are we trying to resolve the problem? I mean, what exactly is the issue? So the people in town can fully understand the impact, the consequence, et cetera, et cetera.
So I don't want to come across this way, Mr. Reitmeyer, but there's only so much that I can answer that, because we are on the record, this is public session, and you are inquiring now as to what is an active litigation. But as far as a Cliff Notes version, Verizon is seeking what's called declaratory and injunctive relief to compel the Borough of Belmar to automatically permit the installation of certain size cell wireless poles along Ocean Avenue. How this case came to be is they made an application. There was negotiation that was going on. Verizon represented to the borough that they would be willing to enter into a tolling agreement and thereafter extend the time for the borough to make a determination on the application. As the borough was, as we were negotiating the terms of the tolling agreement and finalizing a version for the borough's council's approval at the next public meeting, which was the last session, immediately prior to that, Verizon opted to file a lawsuit despite having first agreed to the original tolling agreement. So here we are. As far as the consequences, the Federal Telecommunications Act would just simply compel. They may be monetary fees associated with it as well in the discretion of the court, or if Verizon can prove damages. As far as what that is, I can't exactly talk about it at this point. But with respect to the declaratory judgment that they're seeking, it would be simply a court order instructing the borough to permit Verizon to install the poles however they deemed necessary, which is one of the reasons why we're also, we recommended to the Borough Council this specific ordinance in a way to, at least in the event the lawsuit is detrimental or is adverse to the borough's position, at least the borough would still have some control over the aesthetics and the location of the poles.
So the adversity is based on aesthetics?
No. So if I wasn't clear, what Verizon is, the adverse effect would be that the court order would permit Verizon to come into the Borough of Belmar and construct poles wherever it deemed necessary. However, what this ordinance does is limit the court's authority to instruct the borough to permit Verizon to come into the borough to install its poles, which gives, because this ordinance gives the borough control over the aesthetics of the small wireless facilities as well as the pole placement.
Patrick, the other thing is cohabitation. And this is just not a Belmar issue. This is from the entire eastern seaboard all the way down from, I believe, Sandy Hook to Cape May. And that's what they're trying to accomplish, correct?
That's correct. Thank you.
So the idea is that Verizon as a company wants to come in and have theoretically a right of way to put up their poles. And Belmar is adverse to not having an opinion with respect to its, whether it's in a good spot or a bad spot.
Correct.
Correct.
The borough is not adverse to Verizon coming in. However, the borough wants to retain authority over and control over the aesthetics and cohabitation of the poles as well as the pole location. So I believe that answers your question without going too far.
Now, are these poles going to be in ground, or are these poles going to be above ground, i.e. on a building?
No, they're in the street. They're in the street side.
They're in the street.
Look, if I could just clear it up a little bit, our issue, and Patrick, you'd stop me if I go too far, but our issue was with Verizon. They wanted to put a single pole up for themselves. Once they do that, and this is where the negotiations, each company could put up another pole right next to it. We could have 25 poles. Our ordinance is covering that whatever pole goes up has to be allowed to all the other companies to go on the same pole, because we're not going to have all these poles all over Ocean Avenue. Verizon did not want to do that. They wanted to put up a single pole just for themselves, and these other companies have the right to put up poles right next to them. And that's one of the things that we were battling. So, they could come in and that now this ordinance sort of I think it covers it, right, Patrick?
It does.
Yeah. So if we do allow a single pole to go up, which looks like we're going to almost have to, they have to allow all the other companies to be on that same pole. We're not going to put poles all over the place just for all these different companies coming in. So, and that's one of the things that we have the right to do. And Verizon really didn't want to do that. So, we're looking at that whole aspect of it, but that's just the surface of it. There was some other issues, but those are the things that we're negotiating with them.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now, does this ordinance prevent a private building, let's just say hypothetically, a hotel that we all know that's on Ocean Avenue that has multiple cell phone screens on the roof? Does it prohibit them from doing that, or other potential businesses from doing that?
Well, this is totally different, this ordinance. Those things all have to go through zoning board to get approval. And that's what's happening with Mama Luke's. It's a non-conforming use, and they're looking at that now that it's right across the street from where one of the poles are going to be. Is it necessary to put something on Mama Luke's if we were forced to put on a pole right across the street? So those are some of the things that we're looking at. But and the biggest problem is that when these landlords sign a lease, they could sign it for 40 years, and now you can't do anything with the building. The antennas are up there for 40 years. So it's complicated, but this ordinance here is basically for the right of way for any of the streets in Belmar. Everybody else would have to apply to zoning to get approvals for any type of cell towers on private property, if that answers your question.
It does. And we'll get back into the right of way issue later on in the public session. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay.
As always, you guys are right on target. Thank you.
Thanks.
you. Marcus been waiting, stand by. Go ahead. Oh. Go ahead.
Mark, can you hear me?
No, I'm not. I've spoken.
Mark?
I've spoken already. I don't have any.
Your hand came back up. Sorry about that.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Sherry, there you go. Let's see. Okay, go ahead.
Sherry Russo, Briarwood Road. I just want to make sure I'm in the right place and we're not on public session yet.
No, we're not on public session
We're
yet.
still on ordinances, the ordinance,
Yes.
correct? All right,
Correct.
perfect. That's all. Just making sure I didn't miss it. Thank you. I'll raise my hand again then.
Thank you.
Okay.
Rob? Go ahead.
That's it.
Sorry, waiting for the unmute. Doesn't want to unmute. Go ahead, Rob.
He lowered.
I have nothing more. You answered my question.
Can I
Sorry,
have a
guys,
mo-
little Zoom issues. Yep, no hands.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to adopt ordinance 2021-15.
Motion.
Aye.
Okay, Councilman Juan,
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli,
Yes.
Councilman McCracken,
With regrets, yes.
Councilman Brennan,
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer.
Yes.
Okay, next we have first reading and introduction on ordinance 2021-16. This is a bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of a fire truck. Do we have a motion to offer for first reading?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Juan,
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli,
Yes.
Councilman McCracken,
Yes.
Councilman Brennan,
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer.
Yes.
Okay, next is a public session. If anyone would like to make a comment or a question, please remember to state your name and address before speaking.
Okay. Katrina Klatsis, stand by.
Good evening, everyone.
Katrina.
Klepsis. Hi, 1304 B Street. A lot of talk about parking tonight, so I actually have a little question. When a car is parked in a yellow zone on a street in the residential area, what is the red tag that's put on a car versus a ticket mean? Can somebody tell me that?
Is our chief still on?
The chief is at another meeting.
Oh. I could tell you because
Yes.
I was in the police department. The red ones are warning summons.
Okay, so having said that, on the corner of my street, there's a zone that is clearly yellow, but it looks like these people park there all the time. And the police came and put this the red sticker. So I wasn't sure what exactly that was. So thank you for clarifying that. But having said that, it's clearly a yellow curb, but it looks like perhaps the white, it was a legal parking space at one time. And you know how you guys blacken over those spots, that white lineage, that seems like it has faded out. And I also have one in the front of my house that is totally faded out, although you would know not to park in front of my house because I actually have a driveway there. But this other instance, I think, is there any way that the best route would be to email DPW to give them address so that somebody can come out and blacken those spots so that it's clearer for whoever is parking there?
Well, you can give us the address tonight. We'll inform DPW, but I know
Okay.
that they told me that they're going out this week to do curbs and lines and try to get the town straightened out because there's a lot of them that are
Or like that?
worn
Okay,
out.
do you want it now or do you want me to?
Yeah, you
pull
can
it?
give it to us now. Just
Okay.
forward it right over.
It's the southwest corner of 14th at B Street.
So it's on 14th.
It's on 14th, but it's
Okay.
the southwest corner, yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Our
thank you.
business
very much.
administrator is writing it down as we speak, and he's going to get
Thank you so much, business administrator. Thank you. Have a great night, guys. Thanks.
You too, Katrina.
Thank you, Katrina. Sherry, coming to you.
Hello,
Go ahead.
Sherry Russo, 1218 Briarwood Road in Belmar.
Yes, go ahead, Sherry.
I play pickleball with a group and we have a couple of questions about the courts. I heard you say that they'll be completed in 1 to 2 weeks. And my other question is, after they're completed, will we have to reserve the courts? And if so, how? Or is
I
it
don't know.
like?
I got to talk to our recreation director, but if you contact him, he should be able to. I don't know how he's going to work it, but yeah, Barry's not on tonight. But if you contact him, because I'm not sure if you have to reserve courts for tennis, and so he'll if he does, he'll have a whole schedule for it. But if you contact him and you could reserve whatever time you guys want to use the courts is fine.
Okay, and will it be posted or will you let us know when they're done?
Yeah. We're probably going to do a ribbon cutting on the day that they're ready to go, and John will put it on social media.
Okay. All right. Sorry, just writing that down. My other question or my other comment isn't as fun. Sorry. My slight issue here is upon reading on the budget, I know that you said we weren't getting a tax increase, but on line 6, I feel like there is about $130,000 difference, and to me that is an increase. If something goes up, that's an increase to me. I also want to say that I feel disappointed that many towns around us had a decrease in their taxes. And upon talking to some people in those towns, it was because how much money was given by the state for COVID. I just want to say I feel a little disappointed in that. And those are my only comments. Thank you.
We haven't got the money from the state yet. So if those other towns got it, God bless them. We're promised money, but we don't have it yet. So we can't count our chickens before they're hatched. So if we get it, we'll use it.
Yeah, I just know that the other towns did, put in the paper that their taxes were going down actually, and surrounding towns to us. So I feel it's unfortunate that our taxes didn't go down in addition to that. Also being that we have the marina and we're doing very well at the marina, which is part of, gets thrown into the budget, isn't a separate utility. So that's just my comment. And thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Coming to looking at my list, Sharkus.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello,
Mayor. I have a few comments on 2 in the area of parking and 1 in terms of noise.
Linda, can I just get your name and address for the record, please?
Sure. Linda Sharkus, 4th Avenue. So
thank you.
I found it fascinating that you're doing a joint parking venture with Mr. Kapalko.
Yes.
And during my walks with my dog, I walk through the 5th Avenue Chapel parking lot at 5th and B. I think this is a great source of parking spaces and perhaps revenue because their parking hours are very limited And we may be able to accommodate some of the influx of tourism in this lot. So I think it would be good to check in to see if we could have a relationship with them.
Yeah, we could take a look at that. See if they'd
my-
be interested.
Yeah, everybody likes making money, right? My
so.
second one is a parking situation on 504, 506 13th Avenue. There are 4 houses. One is a small lot, the other is an inverse L, and it contains in those two properties 11 bedrooms, 11 times 2 people per bedroom, 22 cars. They've been, this past weekend, they tried to fit all those cars on the property. So they were taking up space. They were densely packed in the backyard on the grass area. People have called and complained. And certainly would like somebody to address, because these 2 properties changed hands at the end of 2020. So we need to get this right, because my next question is the noise was overwhelming. And since I own a house on 13th Avenue in that block, I put in a complaint via the community policing page. And I don't know, I don't believe it went through because I sent a copy to myself, which I didn't receive. But the police were there a lot. I don't know how many tickets were written or if they just got warnings, but then I would like Pat to set up a meeting over on 13th Avenue to see if we could inform the owners that what the rules are here in Belmar, and give some sense of comfort to the residents that we're going to work to fight this one, just like you did in the past. The 500 block of 13th Avenue has been residential. So this is all new to the people in that neighborhood.
What's the
And
address again, Linda?
it's 504 and 506 13th Avenue. And I imagine there's a lot of people that might be on this call because it was bad. They were obstructing the sidewalk with cars. They were blocking driveways on the street. There was public puking and urination from these people walking to and from the house. So not only were there a lot of people in the houses, they were having big parties. So I'm hoping we could rally the troops to help get this situation under control early in the summer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we'll contact the police department and code enforcement and see if we can find out what's going on down there.
And I did try that approach. I just don't know if anybody received my email, but Pat, I
Have a
copied
call.
you on it.
No.
Pardon?
Linda, you have to call immediately the police department.
We did.
Okay.
There are probably a lot, and the question is, how many tickets were written, or did they just get warnings? So.
Okay, we'll check into it and see what we can do.
Thanks.
Thank you. Coming to Lefty from sativacross.org. Stand by.
Good evening, Council. My name is Edward Lefty Grimes. I'm with sativacross.org. We're a 501c3 here in New Jersey, advocating for disabled rights and cannabis patients' rights. I'm calling about the ordinance, the cannabis ordinance that you have banning it in public places, and it's consistent with CUMA. I don't really have a problem with that as long as it's consistent with what we have to go through already as patients. We can't smoke on the beaches. We can't smoke in recreational areas. So if you have a breathe easy zone, we can't obviously use our cannabis there. Some towns have taken it too far and have banned it in roadways and other places, like even in parking lots, and that affects patients because people need to use their medicine. I'm wondering if you're considering an ordinance for or against medical cannabis dispensaries. Calling about that also. I would hope that you consider people in wheelchairs first and put the last first, because people in wheelchairs really need a lot of help. Cannabis patients, especially because we're getting hit from all sides. We're getting a 7% tax from the state, 2% tax from each town. We're getting moldy cannabis from these huge billion-dollar corporations that have come in here, building their industry on the backs of the sick and the dying. We need mom and pop cannabis stores. We need the small guys that put love and care into their work, that aren't going to give us mold and pesticides and things that patients can use. People with immune issues and sick people can't afford to have unclean, unhealthy medicine. This is medicine to them. And now with recreational adult use, the wheelchairs are going to be in the back of the line. When they get to the front of the line, they're out of the strains that they need. They're out of the amounts that they need. And like I said, it could be moldy. It could be, it's inferior quality and overpriced. Our insurance doesn't cover it. So I would hope that you would consider at least a medical dispensary in town and think about the people in wheelchairs. We can't afford the delivery cost. That people say there's delivery. There is no delivery right now. The only delivery is black market delivery. And they're not, I don't think they're charging the dispensary.
Okay, well, this council's still in discussion. We had a discussion about it last, and we haven't made any kind of decisions yet. So we'll take all your comments into consideration.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Okay, let's look at my list. Sarah, one moment.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great. Yep. My name's Sarah Tantillo. I live at 505 13th Avenue. So you can probably imagine why I'm at this meeting today. I live diagonally across the street from 504 and 506. And I appreciate Linda Sharkus speaking up for us. I'm representing several other neighbors who might not be on this call tonight. Just to add a little bit more detail to the fun we experienced this weekend. There was just an incessant parade of cars going up and down the street, dropping people off, picking people up. Some of the people who were at the so-called party or whatever this weekend binge was, just kept using their cars as closets. I saw people dressing and undressing in the street. And, the incessant beep beep of their car locks as they went to their cars over and over. It's like we've just been overtaken by aliens on this block, and this is not the way this block is operating. And so somebody's got to communicate with the landlord to make this stop, because it was torrentially raining and 30-mile-an-hour winds, and they were still being obnoxious. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like when it's sunny out. I mean, Friday afternoon, I was sitting at home working at my desk, and I heard people yelling, playing beer pong. And I thought, oh, the wind must be really strong coming from the ocean, where mostly, where people tend to be a little bit noisier. And then I went outside and I just couldn't believe what I saw. Just a parade of cars pulling in, pulling out. It was like they were running a speakeasy.
We have the addresses, and I'm gonna talk to the police department. We're gonna talk to code enforcement and
I just for the record, I filled out a form on your website. I left a message for Sergeant Ryan this morning. I haven't heard back yet, but I just wanted to, let you know this is really serious, and we pay taxes in this town, and we don't want to live like this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Let's go to Jeff King, standby.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Name and address, please.
Jeffrey King. I'm at 24 Elizabeth Parkway in Eatontown. I really appreciate the time to speak. Much like Mr. Lefty Grimes, I would like to see a medical cannabis dispensary be put first and foremost in Belmar. I think that it would be altogether fitting and proper. We have alcohol on the beach and on the river and downtown Main Street. We have lots of alcohol distribution as far as packaged goods, and we have consumption lounges of hard and concentrates and regular alcohol, soft alcohol. We also have a production facility of beer, a brewery, very large scale, actually, production. So is that industrial, or is that, I don't know what zoning, how that falls into place, but I'm not saying that you need a growing facility, but you could actually do a infused food. That would be a manufacturing. You could do distribution. So keep in mind.
Question, Mr. King, because I see that there's somebody else waiting to talk from your organization as well. And I guess I'm curious as to what is your interest in having, being somebody that doesn't live in town, interest in having these sorts of things in Belmar?
Well, I'm on Highway 35 here in Monmouth County. So I mean, I go to the Arts Council and I enjoy the the culture there. I really do appreciate what you have going there. Kai's Kitchen is a gem. And I think that if you combine that culture with a cannabis entrepreneur, you could do very well. And I think it would be good for the community to perhaps have some substitution of alcohol for cannabis because it's safer.
Okay, as I said before, we're in discussions about it with the council. We haven't made any decisions, and we're going to take all this into consideration. So we had an open discussion about it last meeting, and we'll be still talking about it as we go forward. So we'll take your comments into consideration.
Thank you kindly, Mayor. Have a good evening, everyone. Take care.
Thank you so much. And going to Jennifer, stand by.
Hi, this is Jennifer O'Neill. I'm at 500 13th Avenue, and I'm not going to keep you very long because you've already heard from some of my neighbors regarding the new houses here, the new rentables. I did want to mention one thing that was not mentioned earlier, and that was the garbage. There was quite a bit of garbage on the streets over the weekend, which I know myself and some of the neighbors cleaned up after. But one of my larger concerns is that today there are piles and piles of garbage in the back because both the recyclables and the garbage was not taken out to the street. One of the gentlemen who was living there, or who is living there, actually spoke to one of the guys that come by and advised him, the guy advised him that the garbage had to be out, and they still didn't take the garbage out. And what I'm concerned about now is, we don't have recyclables again until Monday. We have garbage on Friday, and I don't know if they're going to get that out or not. I did call code enforcement, and in addition, I know that the landlord was here. There was a worker here with him, and I asked the worker if he could stop by to speak to me before he left, and he didn't come by, so I wasn't able to advise the landlord that the garbage needed to go. So yeah, I have the same concerns as my neighbors do, and I would very much appreciate it if you guys can do something about this. And then the only other thing I have is I don't know if there's any kind of number, a code enforcement number for during the weekends, because, we had a lengthy weekend here and there wasn't anybody to call regarding the parking issue. I did call.
You just call the police department and they'll contact code enforcement.
Okay, because I did call the police department because they kept parking in front of my driveway, because I am literally right next door to them. And they parked in front of my driveway, and the police officers came and they gave them warnings and they made them move the car. But again, my concern was the fact that there were so many cars in the driveway, and I think it's a fire hazard. God forbid something, there's a fire in the back homes. There is no way to get to those homes. Hence, anybody around them, all the houses around them are also in jeopardy of catching fire if anything happens. So it is really a very big concern of mine and the neighbors.
We do understand that. We're going to find out what's going on and take a course of action with the police department and code enforcement.
Thank you so much. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Going through our list in order. Jamie, stand by.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Van Skyver, Paulsboro, New Jersey. I also am with Sativa Cross 501c3. We're advocating for medical patients' rights and accessibility for individuals with disabilities. I appreciate that you are having conversation. We're not here to talk to you about recreational. We're not here for self-interest. We're here because we're suffering and dying. And there's people within your community. We're not talking about people who are, going to come in and use you as a destination point or anything. We're talking about year-round residents that are unfortunately suffering from chronic illness and chronic pain. And I don't know if you understand when I say that, these are conditions that are never going to go away. And unfortunately, we can only expect them to get worse and degenerate more with time. People.
All right, well, I'm going to tell you, just like I told the other ones that were on this call, we haven't made any decisions on it. The council is talking about it. Before we put an ordinance in place, we're going to take all your comments into consideration.
Okay, well, I'm making my comment now, please.
Okay, but the two people before you made it perfectly clear about what your organization stands for. So, we're just repeating ourselves, but I mean, if you're going to be pretty short, we'll allow it, but I have other people that
You
want to
will
speak.
allow me to use my time to make my public comments, sir?
Oh, God.
First off, man.
All right, I have a
I'll change
5-minute
the
time
subject
limit,
then,
and I never
please.
used it
I'll
before,
change.
so.
I've been interrupted. I'll change the subject then, please. You guys were also speaking at the beginning of your meeting about just going back to on location. I would like to suggest and recommend if you could do a hybrid meeting for the people in your community that are still not able to come out to location. I just feel that, municipalities did this when they were scared of getting sick, but I don't feel that they truly care about the people in their communities that are genuinely sick, that are going through chemo or have immune illness, that are extremely immune compromised. Also, I see that you promote on your page that you support the Belmar Americans with Disability Acts Committee. It doesn't really say who the coordinator is, if I could have that information. And also that they meet on the third Thursday of the month. It says a location to be announced, but if anybody knows that, I think they would actually like to get involved. I think
They're
even
on
if
Zoom
someone
right
had
now.
hearing disabilities, if a hybrid meeting was still in place, auto-generated closed captioning, that individual wouldn't have to go out of their way to be any different. They would just be able to attend this hybrid meeting as many other individuals with disabilities. And I feel if we are going to support disabilities attending things and making it available for them to do so, that we shouldn't really pick and choose what disabilities that we're going to give access to and support. There's a lot of immune compromised individuals, and I'm here to speak for them in your community that are suffering and dying and probably don't have the energy to come and speak at this meeting. We're not lobbyists. We're not anything. I'm a patient in this state. I'm disabled. I'm sick. Like, please, why do you please have some empathy and compassion just for the people in your community? They want to be present and participate. And I just feel like showing them that this was possible during a time that people were scared to get sick, and then it just reverting completely back when it suits those healthy individuals. It's just kind of really a smack in the face to the disabled community. And really, this is already here. You don't have to make structure of anything. We just don't have to throw what we are already utilizing right now away. Thank you for your time. And again, please consider just medical cannabis accessibility for the people in your community. They need access to something else besides something that you build tolerances to and addictions to, and in turn need more and kind of ravage the body. Chronic pain and chronic illness is very real, and we need to give people options. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And looking at my list, fire tablet.
Go ahead.
Hi. Can you
Name
hear
and
me?
address, please. Name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Denise Thomas, and I just want to piggyback on Sarah and Jennifer. I'm in the 500 block, also 507 13th Ave, in which myself, I was affected by this weekend's activity from the 504 residents. Actually, I just laid my aunt to rest, who was 101. And, you know, I've been in Belmar basically 20 years, and it's like the block itself is just, it turned overnight with this weekend's activity. I picked up probably the little grocery bag full of garbage, like 3 of them from my block up to 4 houses going toward that. And I came back from the deli, in which the guy that owns the deli stated that there was 18 people that will be occupying that house for the weekend. I mean, for the whole summer. So there's a bit of concern about our quality of life. That's all I'm saying. But I'm on board with the other homeowners that's on our block that, you know, our lives were. And the Kennedys on us at 601 13th, they were affected, and they're like 75 and 80 years old, and they have health issues, so they didn't rest either. I spoke with Tom, myself, and Katie, and they didn't rest either because of the traffic and the yelling and the beeping of the car horns, them locking and unlocking the car doors different times of the night.
All right,
So
we understand your frustration, and we're going to get to work on it right away tomorrow, and talk to code enforcement, police department, and see what we can come up with to combat that.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, Maria, coming to you.
Hi, this is Maria Rontanaro, 1246 Pine Tree Way.
Hi, Maria.
Hi. I just wanted to shout out John Sabia, our media specialist. He's done such a fantastic job during COVID of allowing us to access these meetings, and also doing things like Facebook Live and things that allow the residents, whether they're home or wherever they might be, to access what's going on in town. And I would also, you know, I have mentioned this before in our meetings, that I would strongly advocate in the way of having Zoom in conjunction with in-person meetings. I miss the in-person meetings too. I can't wait to get back to them, but there are still residents who are unable to participate. And since we've already have this technology, our teachers use it every day. They do hybrid. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're not expecting perfection, but right now I can see the courtroom from the dais side when I look at Tom Brennan. And as I'm looking, you know, straight at you, Mr. Mayor, you know, I'm able to see the dais as well. And I think that it may not be as complicated as one might think. And you certainly have a great professional at the helm. Can you just explain to me, because I know, Mr. Mayor, you had mentioned that you would like to do hybrid, but you don't know because it's complicated. Can you explain to me what is complicated about it?
Well, we have to work on trying to figure out how we're going to work our meetings live, plus let the rest of the public see what we see on Zoom. We've been already talking about it, and we're looking into some of the equipment that we might need, and working with John. And it's a little bit different than doing a hybrid with the classroom, because we're a municipality and everything has to be recorded. And so we're working on it.
Okay, great. Can we give it a try next meeting? It doesn't have to be perfect, but even if we were to just show, you know, the dais and, you know, the view of the people, or even just the dais. to be able to allow us still to participate, since you already are using that technology.
We'll see what we could do. I can't promise anything, though.
Okay, because it would show great flexibility and transparency, and we personally would love it here. I mean, otherwise we may have children in their pajamas coming into the meetings. And I really appreciate being able to access it. I know a lot of other parents, and as someone had mentioned before, people with disabilities. There's a bunch of us that now have been engaged in these meetings, and it would be a waste for us not to allow that accessibility to continue. Thank you. Have a good night. How are you?
Thank you very much. Thank you for the kind words. All right, going through the list. Let's see. Keith.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead. Name and address, please.
My name is Keith Hunsinger. I'm a Wall Township resident, not affiliated with the Sativa Cross organization, but I would like to give my thoughts on the cannabis issue. I, as a Wall resident, just recently attended the meeting for their ban. I want to kind of give my perspective on your guys' situation as well, as somebody who is in a bordering town. 68.44% was the number of people in Belmar who voted yes for state question number 1. So that's 2,442 voters that voted yes for state question. I just want you guys to put that into perspective when you guys do make your decision. I can see that based on the looks on your guys' faces on the screen that obviously it looks like maybe you're not in favor of it. I would just say that your personal feelings and what the feelings of your constituents are two different things, and to try and keep an open mind to the issue in favor of either medical or recreational. So that's basically all I wanted to say. I thank you for your time and have a great night.
Okay.
Thank you, Keith. All right, looking at the list. Sarah.
No, I wasn't trying to speak again.
Okay.
Okay.
What's this on with Zoom tonight? These hands are just coming up. Sorry, everybody. Linda, coming back to you.
Thank you. Linda Sharkus, 4th Avenue. And in my excitement about talking about parking and noise, I think we overlooked the big event on Friday night was the award by Club 22 of Club 200 of a few of our residents, Nikki Hawkins, Harry Harson, a special one, I believe, and an officer from Wall.
Yeah, Steve Swenson, and it was Steve Swenson from Wall, and it was our special 2 police officer, Tommy White.
Okay, could you tell the audience what this was about? Because it was quite moving that we have such committed employees.
Well, it was about last summer. I'm sure, I don't know if everybody remembers, but we had a young boy that dug a deep hole, and the sand collapsed on him, and he couldn't get out. He couldn't breathe, and these 4 individuals, with the help of others, were able to find him and get him out safely, and he's alive and well, and they were getting awards for their efforts last year in saving that little boy.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for sharing this.
Yeah, it was a great award by the 200 Club, and that it was well deserved.
Thank you so much. And there will be a video of that this week shortly. Thank you. All right, Cyrus, coming to you.
How's it going, guys?
Hi,
Is this the
sorry.
Is this the right time for the public session?
Yes, you're in the right area. Go ahead.
All right, good, super. All right, couple things. One, you know, I'm a little concerned about the fact that, you know, I've seen, and you know, I've been in town for over 26 years. You know, the amount of electric bikes, gas-powered bikes, mini bikes, doing wheelies down Fifth Avenue, doing wheelies down C Street. I mean, what's the, you know, what's the cure to this?
I
I
don't
mean, are there
know. I mean,
regulations? When I was a kid, I couldn't ride a motorized vehicle when I was 10 years old or 11 years old or 8 years old.
I know these motorized electric bikes, and I'm if the chief was still on, I would ask her what the age limit is, or if there is an age limit. I know there is a lot of them around now. So, but the chief had to go to another meeting. I'll have to check with her, because when I was in the police department, there was an age limit of 15, but you're correct. I see a lot younger kids riding these electric and motorized bikes. And so I don't know if the law has changed since I left, but I'll have to check with the chief.
I mean, I think it's important. I mean, I'm a motorcycle rider, so, you know, I appreciate two wheels, you know, but the fact of the matter is that I see kids that are, you know, 8, 9, 10 years old doing wheelies down C Street on a mini bike. And it's like, you know, I don't know where it's going. It's only going to get worse if you don't get a handle on it.
Yeah. I mean, the best thing to do, Si, if you do see it, call at least the police department. They can send at least a patrol car down there, see what's going on.
Okay. All right. Second thing is that, you know, and, you know, the only relationship I have to cannabis is the fact that, you know, unfortunately, my sister.
I was just when you came up, I said, at least I won't have somebody talking about cannabis.
Well, I have to, and I have to do this, and I have to do this only because I have a sister who is older than me, who is diagnosed with a combination of Lou Gehrig's disease and also Parkinson's disease. And one of the things that has allowed her to deal with life, including me, is the fact that she does edibles. And I got to tell you that there is a medical benefit to doing that. And I think that if the town.
We did have a CBD store in the town that was in town, but they went out of business for some reason. But we did have that in town at one point.
But the thing is that there is, you know, it's with 4 liquor stores in town, and God knows how many liquor store establishments or liquor serving establishments. I mean, how bad is, you know, pot going to really, you know, affect the town? I mean, you know, I think that, you know, from my knowledge, is that, you know, pot smokers are going to be a lot less obtrusive than the multiple, you know, assaults and incidents that we hear on alcohol. You know, but, you know, I'm only saying that selfishly because of my sister. But I want to go back to Mr. McCracken. I appreciate the fact you followed through the phone call. Unfortunately, I was advised, you know, that, you know, I should not contact the attorney because I would prefer to hear the explanation in a public forum. So if you can possibly elaborate on the conversation that you had with Mr. Varga, I would greatly appreciate that.
Councilman McCracken, if I may, take over for you.
Whoa.
Yes, go ahead.
Are we hearing the lawyer or are we hearing the councilman?
So I just want to make sure that what you hear on the record is accurate and is a true reflection of the law. So Councilman McCracken, I do not believe is an attorney, unless please correct me if I'm wrong. So it wouldn't be appropriate for him to give a legal interpretation on the record. Am I correct, Councilman McCracken?
That's correct.
But he
So-
would be as, let's say, as intelligent in deciphering it as you would be.
It's not so much as an deciphering, it's more or less giving a legal representation on the record is what you're.
Okay, let's hear it.
to. So
Let's hear it.
based off my recollection of the comments and your concerns raised at the last council meeting, you were discussing a tree placement that's in the public's right of way. And please correct me if I'm wrong, your concern is who is responsible for maintaining the sidewalk or the damage that's a result of, for example, tree roots uplifting. Am I correct?
Partially, yes.
So fill me in on the other partial half, just so that I can fully answer your question.
Okay, so in the event that that tree that, was granted you on a right-of-way basis has now grown to the point where it invaded the property outside of the right-of-way, whose responsibility then is that?
It would be my opinion that it would be the homeowners whose property the tree sits in front of. Because under the Borough Ordinance 16-20 governing sidewalk and curbs, it's the homeowner's responsibility to maintain that area. So if the tree, by virtue of its overgrowth, is extending, and I don't know if you're saying it's causing a nuisance on another neighbor's property, or if it's interfering with their general rights to use their own property, it would be my opinion that it would still be the homeowner's responsibility under the Borough ordinances.
All right, so you're saying that you can plant a tree on the record now. You can plant the tree within the right-of-way. And if that tree then grows to the point where it intrudes upon public property outside of the right-of-way, then it's the homeowner's responsibility?
If the tree is on a private person's property, it is the homeowner's responsibility to maintain, repair, or otherwise correct the effects, the detrimental effects it's causing. Correct. That's my opinion.
Within the right-of-way or outside of the right-of-way?
If it's still located within the right-of-way, it would still be the homeowner's responsibility.
All right, so what happens if it's outside of the right-of-way?
Then it's on your property. So it's on your property. It's on your property. Before you jump down my throat for a little word mistake. If it's still your property just because the borough has a right-of-way or an easement with authority to use that portion. However, if it's outside of the borough right-of-way, that means it's squarely within your property. Again, the answer is still the same any which way you look at it. It's still your responsibility to maintain the tree.
All right, so again, on the record, the town plants the tree. 120 years later, the tree that the town planted grew outside of the right-of-way to the point where it's now incurring damage on the adjacent property. You're saying then that it's the homeowner's responsibility to repair such damage, and it's not the town's responsibility, for the record.
Yes, it would be my position that it would be the homeowner's responsibility to repair or correct or abate any nuisance that an item on his or her property is causing on an adjacent homeowner's.
Regardless who planted it. And
Yes.
regardless the ownership of the tree itself.
This is the 5th time you've asked that question in a row at this point. Yes. Now, it appears that you're just going to keep asking the same question over and over again until I change my opinion, but my opinion is not going to deviate from what I've represented to you. It is the homeowner's responsibility to maintain, repair, and correct any nuisances that exist on its property. It is the homeowner's responsibility pursuant to the Borough of Belmar ordinances to repair, correct, and abate any damage caused to the sidewalk, curb, or a condition that exists thereon.
Regardless of whether the fact that it's a town-owned tree.
Well, who's saying it's a town-owned tree? Are you saying it was
You planted it. I can't take it down without town approval. I did not plant the tree. The tree has been there for 120 years. It's clearly owned by the town.
There's
So the
several-
town owns the tree, not me.
No, that's incorrect. And it appears at this point, you're trying to tee yourself up for an admission on the record for litigation. So at this point, I'm going to instruct the members of the council to avoid answering this question further. If you have any other questions, I would recommend that you contact an attorney and have your attorney contact me directly, or feel free to contact me directly as well.
Okay, then when I will finish the conversation by saying this, that anyone in town that has a tree that the town owns within the right of way, that if they have suffered damages as a result of that tree, then you should join me in a class action suit against the town. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay, seeing no hands.
I have a motion to close the public session and adjourn the meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.